Hey, this is Stu, and of course this time we're here with Purple Valley Asana School and Joey Miles, and we're going to be looking at Parivrtta Trikonasana, and we've got the lovely Rachel that's helping us with this. And so, Joey, you might as well just jump straight in and tell us what's going on.
So I'm just going to start by counting through the 5 Vinyasa, so that you've just got some clarity of how we get in and out, and then we'll break it down, look at a little bit of the major parts of the body and which directions they're going to go in. So Rachel, just follow my count. Ekam, inhale, step to the right. Dve, exhale, left hand down. The 5 breaths are here. 1, breathing in, breathing out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Trini, inhaling, come up and turn to the left side. Chatwari, exhaling, go down, right hand to the floor, left arm is up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pancha, inhaling, come up. Samasthiti, exhale. So, although I counted through the 5 Vinyasa, remember that actually Ekam 1 is the exit from Trikonasana A. So, if you just do Trikonasana A, okay, but just go straight to the left side. Okay, take your toe, stretch the arm up. So here, she's in Trikonasana A, and of course within the flow and the sequence, this posture you're on Chatwari 4. So actually what you hear in a traditional counted class is Pancha, inhaling, come up. Dve, exhaling, go down. So you see when we started just then, we said Ekam, but actually coming up. So that's how they sort of overlap. Okay, so come up.
The game with the numbers.
Yeah, so there's the game of the numbers that people find confusing, but that's just to clarify it, okay, because you don't actually come back to Samasthiti in between. Okay, so now I'm just going to give you a few major points to look at when we're doing Parivrtta Trikonasana. Of course, now with these points we have to take extra breath, so we're basically abandoning the count now. So again, Ekam, step to the right and turn. The first thing to look at, okay, is the positioning of the heels. Notice Rachel's turned her foot a long way in here. Okay, this is very useful because it makes turning of the hips very easy. If, okay, Rach, just turn your foot back here. So yeah, if people have turned right the way back, okay, if people don't turn this back foot in, it's very, very difficult or almost impossible to turn the hips. Okay, so always check the feet first, so the back foot diagonal. So reposition your foot and actually take your foot wider. Okay. Now, if I just take your hands down for a moment, if you just zoom in on the floor, people generally say line up the heel with the instep, something like this. That's the kind of classical shape. But generally, heel to heel for beginners is much, much easier. Or if you're unstable on your feet, going wider by several inches, that's still going to be easier. So by all means, go wider. So if we do that to begin with, you can actually, Rach, bring your left foot to the left side of the mat. Not all the way, but a little bit more. That's it. And again, right foot to the right side of the mat. Now what that enables you to do when you've gone broader is to move this part of the thighs back. So literally it allows you to get the inner rotation of the thighs. Then there's a broadening in this part. Okay, so that's actually a vital aspect you need because it creates then space here. Okay, so we start like that, then once again stretch the arms. When we stretch the arms, this isn't just a sort of it's not just choreography. When the arms stretch, the chest lifts, okay, so the spine lifts. So this is why it's vital to go here, okay? Now, from here, we want to divide the movement. We've checked the feet, we've checked the pelvis. The next movement is just a forward bend, so we do not go diagonally down. People often start going diagonally from here, left hand straight down, and then when we do that, the pelvis nearly always ends up in a swayed out position. That's hard to rectify later. So we've set feet, set hips. From here, we just go forward. Okay, and we pause at the halfway point. Okay, you can let the neck go long, and at this point you're looking down at the foot. Now the left hand goes down, and then the turning action comes. So essentially we've divided that movement. We've done a forward bend, a bit like Parivrtta, then we bring the turning action in. So this is the first twist in the whole sequence. Okay, now from here, in the beginning, just keep looking down. What you need to focus on is pulling this right hip back. So you can see here, you can actually do this yourself. You just use your thumb in the hip crease and pull back. So you strongly pull this back, and then the counter action to pulling the hip back here is the big toe. So you keep looking at the big toe, pin the big toe down, pin the inner heel down. Those two parts have to be heavy. Keep pulling back there. And then to lengthen the spine, as you keep pulling this hip back, you lift the sternum and the chest up and forward. So now you can start to turn. So staying there for a good half a minute, a few breaths is the best thing to do. Okay. Now finally you stretch the arm up. Okay. So remember, you've got this action of pulling hip back, keeping big toe down. As the hip pulls back and as the chest comes up and forward, that's how we lengthen the spine. We lengthen and focus on the length on the in-breath, and then the turning takes place on the exhalation. So we divide that. So come back up when you're ready, turn to the other side. So I'll just reiterate what happens on the left side. We check the feet. For now, we're going to broaden the feet, so wider. The broadening of the feet and the inner rotation of this back thigh enables this part to move this way. It goes like that. So it creates space here, and then going down, Chatwari. So on the way down, you're going to put your right hand on the floor, Rach, put your left thumb into the hip crease and pull back. When you're pulling the hip crease back, you'll encounter a lot of stiffness here in the hamstring, here in the buttock. And most people feel that for the first number of years. Okay? Once you feel the hips are in place, you then squeeze here and here. So the gluteus medius, the upper outer hips, this region has to grip. You really squeeze in, and then finally turn and stretch the arm up. Okay? Now, when you're pulling that hip back, you'll often become ungrounded on the front foot. So when we're pulling this hip back, you'll often see the foot starts doing this. You see how the big toe comes up, the inner heel comes up. So you have to pin the big toe down. So here, heavy, inner heel heavy as you pull this back. As the chest goes up and forward, you'll see this part gets longer. And then on the exhalation, we turn. Okay, so come up for a moment. Okay, I want you to just change legs so we can see your back. Okay, so put your right foot forward, left leg back. Okay, and go straight down again. So when we take this further, the next thing to focus on, once you've squeezed in at the hips, you've got the length of the spine, go for it, turn. Okay, the next thing to focus on is not just the turning here of the abdomen, but the turning of here of these back left ribs. Okay, so this is where you'll encounter a lot of stiffness, okay, in that region there. Okay, so on the exhalation, you let those ribs roll down. Okay. On the inhalation, you go back to lengthening, exhalation, roll those ribs down, okay, and come back up. So for those of you who are a bit more adept, that's the part you focus on, the turning of the rib cage, okay. Now there's one more point I'm going to give you, and then we'll call it a day. So do the other side again. Okay, so I just want to talk about the gazing place, because we know that the gazing place in the Parivrtta Trikonasana is the top hand or the top thumb. However, she's not looking at the thumb here. So when is the moment you look at the thumb? Okay. So we've talked about dividing the movement. So we've got the forward bend. So as you go down, Rachel's looking at the toe. When she sets the hand down, go for it, she's still looking at the hand or the toe. Okay. Now, just put your hand on your lower back for now. Okay. Now, the gaze goes from here diagonally to the corner of the mat. And when she does this movement, there's a feeling that essentially from the mid-thoracic spine, or from roughly where the bra strap is to the base of the skull, it feels like you're doing a back arch, okay? You're not really, you're just keeping the spine long. So we look from here to here, in a diagonal angle, you start looking that way. Okay, you start looking that way, you can stretch the arm up, and the gaze continues in that direction until you look up. So what we need to avoid, just stay there, is we never look that way to the hand. If you do that, the upper back starts rounding more and more. And if the angle was looking from here down on, you'll see that's often what we see. We start to see, as people go around, they do this, and then the thoracic is very rounded. There's more of a hump to the back. So by becoming aware of the trajectory of the gaze, it'll help the length of the spine. And then, like we talked about, it'll help move those back ribs in. Okay, and come up.
And if they haven't got that amount of twist in the thoracic spine, then theoretically the hand doesn't reach pace to the ceiling, so then people start adapting their hips.
Then people will adapt, obviously, yeah, and that's absolutely fine. So there's one major adaptation which is really, really useful. If you just step to the right again. Now you see Rachel's really open, so she makes it look so easy, but for a lot of people the first place of stiffness is here in the hamstring. So we often bring in a brick. Of course it can be at different heights, but when you go down and place your hand on your brick, just go for it there, and then the other hand on the lower back. And then you can just stay like this. So that would be the first stage. Okay. We don't even have to take this arm up, because a stiff person, they'll be bringing the arm often over here, and it just feels then very, very wobbly. So it's fine to just do the pose like that. Then again, it's the same thing. We focus on lengthening on the in-breath, and then a bit of turning on the out breath, and this shoulder will come up, this elbow will come back.
And the
ideally.
directionality of the head, if you don't take your arm up.
Yeah, in that case, you're either looking down or you look to the side, but you don't look up.
Yeah.
Okay, so just jump out of the way for a moment. I'll just demonstrate and pretend to be the stiffer student. So often I'll ask my stiffer student to go down. If I'll just pretend I'm using the brick again. So I'll go from here to here. And we might start turning, but we're probably still going to be looking down, because until you've actually brought the chest around, it's not going to be comfortable to move the neck. And it's very important to not strain the neck. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of very obvious, but because people have been told to look up, sometimes they do that prematurely.
Yeah.
So remember, the gaze is almost like the icing on the cake. It's almost the last thing that happens.
Something I see as well is as they look up, they drop their head back a lot.
Yeah, that happens
And
a lot. Yeah.
And so there is a slight, there's not a tucked in, but there's a slight energetic tucking of the chin, would you say, as you're turning your
I
head?
don't really want to answer that. That's a really different. For one person, the answer is
It's-
yes,
of
and for the other
course,
person,
yeah.
the answer is no. So you
Yeah.
can't on this kind of video.
You can't say
I
that.
don't want to say that, yeah, because like for you that might be the case, but then for somebody else, I'll be saying lift the chin, take your head
Yeah,
right back. So
exactly.
it's you know 6 and 2 3s.
So then what we could say maybe is be aware if your head is like
Be aware of the
backwards.
positioning of the head.
Yeah.
The main thing is it's so obvious. But if I do Trikonasana, it's like you can see my arms, you can see my legs, you can see my spine. Arms, legs, spine.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Arms, legs, spine, arms, legs, spine, arms, legs, spine. You know, if we start going too low because we've led with the head, now we start moving the head up. You know, I was joking about it earlier in the workshop. I was saying, you know, if somebody comes in, we're all eating lunch together, and the head's kind of like this, you'd be like, Joey, what's wrong? You know, it's like, yeah. But for some reason, when we're doing postural yoga, it's like we think, right, I've got to do it, and then the head goes into some really, you know, like nasty places. Yeah. It's like the positioning of the head is just, you know, yeah, it's a major heavy part that needs to be considered. So in these laterals, just keep the head in a neutral, normal position, and that's why things like the bricks and so on can sometimes, you know, be really essential.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's too much compromising.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there's a lot of expressions about knocking round pegs into square holes and stuff. And that's
Exactly.
like, don't put yourself through the mill like that.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Joey.
No problem.
So just watch that turn, that time that you turn in that posture. There's a nice book I just remembered in Judith Lasseter book about how the spine rotates much more nicely in a flex once it's been flexed, rather than just twisting as you go. All to do with the way that the different segments are designed. So, as Joey said, don't twist too early, because I see that all the time. As you said, everybody just like heading for the corner as they go down. So, thanks, Joey. That was Parivrtta Trikonasana.